Have you been telling yourself lately or ever that you are not a creative person, or that you're too old or too young to start, or that if you do start, like, what was the point? There's already so many people that are so much better than you could ever be. This video is going to be for you because those are limiting beliefs that are holding you back from creating. And I have a whole list of possible limiting beliefs that you might be telling yourself that are not helping you. And if you don't know, my name is Lindsay and I post videos like this frequently, and I'm really excited about this one today because I had some major limiting beliefs my entire life that held me back from creating. Main one being I told myself I wasn't a creative person, which was very false. And I want to help you break through those limiting beliefs so you can start creating and expressing yourself. And if you don't know where to begin, click the link in the description and get my creative expression kit. It's 5 coloring pages and 5 journaling prompts. And I know how much in the beginning of me starting off being creative that coloring helped me, and journaling is just a great way to get a lot of the crappy thoughts and things out of your head and onto a piece of paper. And so yeah, click the link below, get my creative expression kit, and let's get on to the video. So basically, a limiting belief is not a fact, but a story that we tell ourselves over and over to the point that we believe it is true. We usually learn them during childhood, from family, maybe mentors that we had, or just negative experiences in general. And what happens is as we have these negative experiences or people tell us these things, we latch onto them, and then they end up creating rigid patterns in us that prevent us from trying, taking risks, or just growing as an individual in general. Recognizing these internal narratives that we have is the first step to rewriting them and changing our story, which is exciting because, like I said, these things that we're telling ourselves, they're not facts. They're learned thoughts. And just like anything you learn, you can also unlearn it. So that's what we're going to focus on. So there are 5 main components that kind of create these limiting beliefs. And we're going to go over the 5 that I have listed, and in each category I'm going to give you some possible things that you might be telling yourself that are holding you back from creating. So the first one we're going to go over is self-worth and identity. And so some of the things that you might possibly be saying, and this was my number one that I would say, was I'm just not a creative person. And like I said, this couldn't have been more true for myself. So I can only imagine that if you're telling yourself this also, that there's a high chance that it's not true. Plus, I just believe that all of us do have creativity within us. We just are wired differently as people, and we have to take the time and to dabble and try to find what our specific thing is that, and it's not just one thing usually. If you're being creative, it's almost always not just one thing that you like to be creative with. So yeah, telling yourself I'm not a creative person or I'm not an artist. I struggled with that one a lot in the beginning. Another one may be I don't have anything valuable to offer, or I don't deserve success or happiness. I don't matter, or my voice isn't important. I don't really know who I am, so how can I create from that space? So when I started creating, I also did not really know who I was as a person, and I felt really lost. And I remember about 5 years ago, I was having people, it was actually like a lot of people. I had just broken up with my boyfriend I was dating at the time, and I was with him for 8 years, and I spent so much of my life, exploring and traveling and doing things with him. And after we broke up, I remember like I would meet people and they'd be like, what do you like to do for fun? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. If I'm being honest, I worked and I hung out with my friends and I partied. Like that was my activities, and that made me really sad. So hopefully if you're in that same boat, this video can help you, but let's continue. say the last one I just mentioned, I don't really know who I am, so how can I create from that space? That's the one of the great things about creating is as you create and as you try things, and maybe you try something and you realize like, oh, I don't really like that, but it gives you an idea or a thought, and so you try something else. In that process, not only are you expressing yourself, which is so important for our health, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. So not only are you expressing yourselves, but you are learning who you are in the process of creating. And promise you, you're going to learn a lot more about who you are as a person while you're creating something than if you were just on your phone scrolling through everyone's social media feeds. So the next category we're going to talk about is ability and competence. It's one of the other main components. So some things you might be telling yourself in this department would be, I'm not talented enough, or I don't know what I'm doing. You're taking away your ability to learn. Nobody knows what they're doing when they start. Nobody knows. How you develop a skill is you take the time to learn, you take the time, the action and practice and experiment, and you keep trying, and eventually you get better, or you learn you don't like that, and then that's totally okay. I don't have the skills goes hand in hand with what I was just saying. Nobody's born with a skill. Like yes, some people maybe have a natural talent or whatever, but they still have to work on that skill and develop it and refine it. And yeah. Another one may be, I'm afraid I'll do it wrong. I'm going to let you know this right now with my fluid paintings. I have done a lot of things wrong. And I've gotten really frustrated a few times until I had to work through that frustration and realize and have compassion with myself that everybody messes up. There's nothing wrong with that. And the fear of messing up should not hold you back from starting. Another one may be, I'm not smart enough to figure this out. I'll never be successful, or I'll never be the best. Maybe not, but that's okay. I'm too old, or I'm too young. You are not too old to ever start something that is exciting or interesting to you, and you are never too young to start either. Maybe you think like, I'm too young, I'm not experienced enough, no one will take me seriously. Who cares? Throw that out the window. You are not too young or too old to start. I've already missed my chance. Kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. It is never too late. So if you are telling yourself that, try to catch that and rewire it. And we're going to talk more about that at the end. I never finish what I start. Maybe that is true. Maybe you do have a problem with finishing things that you start, but that could be something that you recognize and could be a goal for you to work on, and starting creating could be the motivation you need to finally finish something you start. Another one may be, if I were meant to do this, it would come easier. I'm gonna let you know this right now. Most of the things that are truly valuable in our lives don't come the easiest. I'm not saying like you should have to be forceful and push for everything. I also don't agree with that. I do think there's a happy balance, but sometimes the things that are meant for us, we do have to work for. And I think it helps us as individuals appreciate it more when we do get it. Because a lot of the times, think about it, if you get something, if everything's just handed to you so easily, how likely are you to truly value it and appreciate it? If you struggle your whole life, and maybe you have a similar story to mine, and you tell yourself you're not creative until you're 30 years old. And I remember I used to lay in bed and I would pray to God and be like, what am I here for? Like there's got to be something that is exciting for me that I can have in my life that keeps me excited to keep pushing forward. And he opened up my creativity, and I'm telling you, it's just the floodgates were open, guys. So if you're telling yourself, if I were meant to do this, it would come easier, maybe recognize that those struggles and the trying, the pushing forward that you have to do to get where you want to go, is worth it, and it helps build character. Next category, fear and perfectionism. So this is a big one for me. Maybe you're saying, I need to be perfect before I start creating, or my art or whatever I'm creating has to be perfect before I share it. That one I struggled with. I was doing my art and I was so scared to show people because I thought people were going to judge me, and or I, there was a lot going on up here, guys, and that's why I'm making this video, because maybe you got a lot going on up there too, and it's time for us to flip the narrative. Another one may be, what if I fail and prove myself right? What if you succeed and prove yourself wrong? I'll start when I feel more confident. I'm going to tell you this right now. Starting and actively doing it is what builds confidence. You aren't going to gain confidence by remaining idle. It just doesn't work like that. And I had serious confidence issues, honestly, my entire life. But up until about the time I started creating, and it didn't stop when I started creating, but me creating my art and my different things that bring me enjoyment has helped me build so much confidence, especially when I push through those moments of wanting to quit because I messed up a few times. And sometimes I did take little breaks, I needed to reset my brain and my mind and everything, and that's okay. Get back on the horse, keep trying. That is absolutely how you are going to build yourself up and your confidence. Same thing, what if I embarrass myself? When we can learn to let go of what other people are thinking of us, or, it is so freeing. It is seriously so freeing. Because also too, a lot of these people, and this is something that I struggle with, and then something clicked in my brain one day, because I have had people say weird things to me that I was like, I wasn't really that nice, or, kind of judgmental. What are they doing? Say you do start creating and someone does judge you, and take the moment and think about it. Don't judge them back. That's not what we're doing, but look at them. And honestly, I had a girl one day that made a comment about how what I was doing, my fluid painting, wasn't actual art. It was just paint by numbers. And so out of curiosity, I did go look at her little page, and I'm not dogging on her, but she doesn't make any art. So in my mind, I'm like, why am I going to let this person who's maybe having a bad day, or I don't know, who knows? But why am I going to let them affect what I'm creating and how I feel about myself and what I'm creating when they don't even create anything, Something to think about, which goes hand in hand with the I'll be judged by others. Maybe, but, we have to start to let the fear of being judged by others go, because it's just not benefiting us. Or another thing you could be saying is, I'm afraid of the unknown. I've been there. Sometimes the unknown can be scary. It can also be exciting if you let it be, Maybe we don't know what's going to happen. None of us know what's going to happen tomorrow. Anything, we have no idea. But I want to let that be exciting in my life. I want to be excited that I don't know what's going to happen, because then it's like so many possibilities can open up. If you are so latched on to the here and now and what is going on, and you're afraid to let go and you're afraid to let change happen, it's only hindering us. It's only holding us back. And what if there is something that is calling out to you, your future, waiting for you to take that step to start creating, but you're too afraid of the unknown to take that leap, Next category, resources and circumstances. So some common things that you might be telling yourself, or maybe you've heard someone else say this, is I don't have enough time or money, or I'm too busy. Okay, there's another one. They kind of go hand in hand. I don't have enough time. I am guilty of saying this. And anytime I say it, I have to catch myself and reframe that, because I do have time. Maybe I don't manage my time properly, and that is why I don't have the time, because you don't have to spend 2 hours creating something. If you have the time and you want to do that, please do that. But say you are, strapped for time. Say you have a busy life, you have a family that you have to take care of, you have a full-time job, you have a bunch of responsibilities. Even sitting down for 10, 15, 20 minutes and doodling or drawing, or maybe doing a quick coloring book page or writing, we can make time for that. And honestly, we should be making time for that because it is so healthy for us, getting that expression out. Maybe you're a very busy person and you are super stressed out. You're running around all the time like a chicken with your head cut off. And that 10 minutes you take to sit down and write could be that time that you are able to express yourself and get out all of that stuff just running around in your head. Gotta be here, gotta be there. What about this? What am I gonna do? Get it out. You know what I mean? And that 10 minutes to 20 minutes, however long you wanna do it, even 5 minutes, it's better than no minutes. And maybe you're saying, I don't have enough money. There are cheap stores around that you can get very inexpensive supplies, notebooks, pencils, even paint supplies. When I started painting, I got the cheap of the cheap. I got the cheapest stuff. So I had no clue what I was doing. And it worked. I'm just saying. Another thing you might be saying is, I don't have the right resources or connections. Maybe you don't think you know enough people. When you start creating, it opens up so many doors for you, and now you have things to talk about with other people, and maybe you make some new connections just based off of the things that you started creating. Another point that kind of goes hand in hand with what I've been saying, maybe you're telling yourself, my life is too chaotic right now, I'll create once things calm down. That could be a long time. That could be a year from now until things finally settle down. Maybe longer, maybe less, we don't know. You don't want to wait until that date that you don't know is going to happen to start creating. Because while your life is chaotic, if you are creating in the process, it could provide some much needed relief for your nervous system, for your mind, for your emotional well-being, in all the ways. You could be telling yourself you're too tired after work, or I don't have the physical space to do this. If, maybe you're wanting to be a fluid artist like I am, and you don't have the physical space. I lived in a very tiny casita for 2.5 years, and I made it work. I did it on the floor. I'm telling you, if you want to make something happen, you will find a way to make it happen. Another thing you could be saying is, I don't have support from the people around me. If you don't have the support from the people around you, I understand. When I first started doing my creative journey, or started on my creative path, and I remember I went home and I told my whole family, I want to do art. I don't want to be in the medical field. That's what I got my degree in. I don't want to do that. I want to create art. It brings me joy, and that's what I want to do. And I'm not going to say they weren't supportive, but they did not necessarily understand, because, starting off as an artist when you haven't created any art your entire life is a pretty unknown place to be. And they genuinely were concerned. They wanted me to be okay and make sure I could take care of myself. But I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And if you're in a similar boat where you are feeling called, but maybe you have people around you that are telling you that you can't do that, or that you shouldn't, you're going to have to ignore it. For a lack of better words, you're going to have to trust yourself and what you are being guided to do overall. And our last category is comparison and external factors. So something you might be saying is, someone else is already doing it better. Why should I even try? Because you are unique, and maybe somebody else is doing it. I'm not going to say they're doing it better. Maybe they just have been doing it longer. They are more skilled. They have more knowledge, but you can just as easily get there. And maybe along the way, you decide you don't even want to do what they're doing anyways. And during the process, you create your own unique little thing that makes it so special to you that's why you should try. Because we're not doing this to be better than someone else or make something exactly like someone else. We're doing this so that way we can express ourselves uniquely and creatively. And nobody can make exactly what you're making, especially if it came from your brain. Like that is unique to you. They can try to copy it and replicate it, but it is yours. And I just love that. Nobody can take our authenticity away from us. That is ours. It is our God-given right. And yeah. Another thing you might be saying is I'm not where others are in life. The market is too saturated. People like me don't succeed at things like this. If it was meant for me, it would have already happened. No. If you catch yourself saying that, Sometimes the things that we feel are meant for us aren't. And sometimes they are, but it's not in our timing. You know, we have to learn, we have to grow, we have to evolve and develop. And then everything just falls into place. Maybe you're saying other people have more confidence, money, or connections, or I could never be as good as they are. Or this was a big one. I actually have had a lot of people. It's so weird, but maybe you're saying, why should I create when AI can make something that looks just like mine? It's a pretty valid point. So what I was going to say is I've had quite a few people. I remember when I was at work one day and I was talking to one of my regulars. I'm a waitress. I was talking to one of my regulars and I was telling them about how I was excited. I was going to be building a website to put my art on it. And he was like, well, how do you feel knowing that you're about to go into a field that is going to be obsolete because of AI? Like basically he's saying that AI is going to take away from all the creators and all the artists, and why would anybody want to buy from an artist when they can get a perfect picture or whatever from AI? That is exactly why people are going to continue buying from artists. Because yeah, AI is cool and it's a tool that we can use, but at the same time, like people want things that are made from someone's brain, from someone's hand, not from a computer. And some of these images I've seen that are from AI, I'm sorry, but they are just so wildly like, yes, they're cool. It's cool to see how like perfect the pictures are, but I would much rather buy something that somebody made some pottery and they sculpted that with their hands. I would much rather buy that than a AI printed canvas. Like I don't know. If someone's saying that to you, just totally throw that out the window. Sorry. For lack of a better way to word that, just get rid of that one because AI is not going to make art obsolete. So yeah, those are my points for the day. If you need to rewind and re-listen to maybe catch some of the things that you might be saying to yourself, then please do. If you have any questions, comment down below and I would love to be of help, give you some tips, some guidance, maybe help you reframe some of those limiting beliefs or narratives that you're telling yourself that are holding you back. And yeah, once again, click the link below, get my creative expression kit. And until next time, until my next video, much love guys, and I'll see you soon.